Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Kate Aronowitz, and I'm a design partner at GV. GV is the venture capital arm of Alphabet. And the design team at GV works with the CEOs and the founders in our portfolio companies to help them realize the power of design in making better business decisions. We also work with their design teams to help them grow and also have more impact. We also build design community and support amongst the top design executives in tech. We regularly get them together and discuss what's working out and share our successes, but we also talk a lot about where design still has a long way to go. Just over the past year, I've worked with more than 40 companies, from names that you would know like Slack or Uber, all the way to healthcare startups that are just getting up and going. And I'd say my main takeaway from being at GV for about a year and a half and working with all these companies is that you can go into a company, you can teach design thinking, you can put people through workshops, you can have sprints, you can teach empathy to engineers, but if there isn't a leader that's left behind, that's taking responsibility for design, a true design leader, that work very quickly goes to the wayside, and that's why I'm excited to come and talk to you about, I think, a big challenge that we're facing as design leaders. So over the past few decades, as a group, design leaders have reached new levels of success, and it's thanks to many of the people in this room that the top companies in the world are finally getting design. We're using design thinking to solve really big problems. We're designing and putting products into the world that are both more thoughtful and they're more delightful. And we're also leading the way into meaningful conversations around ethics and the environment. And as leaders, we can actually finally see a present and a future where design is on equal footing as a discipline with math, engineering, and science. We can also see a future when design executives were finally paid the same as our peers in business and product and engineering. We can also see a future when design organizations are centers of pride and excellence and doing good at businesses from their very inception. But this success, it didn't happen overnight. Most of us in this room have been hard at work in design for 20, 25, 30 years or more. And with that in mind, with how long it's taken us to get here and the success that we've had, I'd like you to all pause and think for a moment. And I'd like you to think about what's next. What's next for you? How long will you stay in your current position? When you leave, what's next? Will you take another position similar to the one that you have now? Will you simply join another company? Do you have it in you to scale a team from very small to very large again? Do you have the energy to educate yet another CEO on the power of design? And when you leave your current position, do you have someone to take your place? So over the past year, at dozens of coaching sessions, lots of dinners, and other conversations that I've led, I've been asking other design leaders the exact same questions I've just asked you, and I'm hearing the same answers over and over again. I'm hearing that there has never been a better time to be in design, and we are super proud of our accomplishments. But I'm also hearing, I'm tired. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay in this position. I don't know if I have another leadership position in me, and I don't have someone to take my place. Hope I'm seeing some nodding heads. I think you're probably feeling the same. We have worked so long and so hard to get design its seat at the table that we have now moved from a problem of demand to one of supply. The demand for design executives is simply outpacing the number of people that are both interested and qualified in taking these positions. And this is both at startups that I'm coaching, but also at really terrific, great companies who are having a hard time finding new design executives. So I'm worried. I actually think that this really does put our legacy at risk. Think about your own personal legacy. Let's say you left your position tomorrow, you were ready to move on because these positions are rewarding, but they take a toll. What would happen if your position went vacant for 6 or 12 months? Just go over to LinkedIn and do a search for design director, and you will see that there are 66,000 listings, 66,000 open positions for design directors, VPs of design, other leadership positions in our industry, and that's just LinkedIn. Think about all the positions that are not listed there. So let's talk about it. Who will take our place? And I'm not here to tell you that robots are coming, not yet. So if you think about maybe who might take your place, your natural instinct might be, well, I'll just go find someone else that took my path, someone that has a similar background as me. Well, good luck. It's a fool's errand, and I'll tell you why. Not only are we short on people that took the same path as us, it would really be a mistake for the next generation to just look like clones of the current. If you think about the paths that we took to get to our leadership positions, I didn't go to school for user experience. I was designing vitamin labels when I graduated from college. I fell into user experience by mistake. And those positions at LinkedIn and Facebook and eBay, I usually had to write my own job description. They knew they needed design, but they didn't know what to do with me. My friend Michael Goff, he runs the global team at Uber. He was a licensed architect before getting into tech. My friend and fellow design partner at GV, Vanessa Cho, designed book jackets long before running design teams at GoPro, Walmart, and Google. We've blazed a path for design, but our path was not exactly straight. It was pretty varied. And the next generation is pretty different than us. Most of them did go to school for the design that they're practicing now. Most of them did join companies with the design teams and great career paths. They also have some really terrific qualities that we didn't grow up having. Accessible design is kind of second nature to them a little bit more than it was for us. Designing for a global audience is kind of just what they do. And many of these upcoming leaders, they don't draw these hard lines between hardware or software that many of us did. The next generation is also going to have to dive even deeper than the conversations that we're having this week. They have to go deeper into AI, into ethics, government relations, inclusion. So I think it's really exciting to get new perspective into this conversation. So when you're thinking about diversity, as I hope you all are, because we know more diverse teams build better products and better companies, I want you to think just outside of gender or ethnicity. I want you to think about getting outside of your industry, getting outside of your region. I know that in Silicon Valley, we have to do a better job at this, because I want us to get excited to pass the baton to the next generation that probably didn't take the same path we did. Another thing I think about when I think about bringing up another generation of leaders is how to mentor them. And mentorship often takes on this kind of grand, very formal definition of deep relationship, deep responsibility for someone else's career, and I'm not knocking that kind of mentorship. But when I ask a lot of design leaders, what was the mentorship that made a difference in your career? It wasn't the grand gestures that made the difference. It was the designer who told me that she often had a manager that gave her projects she didn't even know she was capable of doing. Or another senior leader that said that he had a great boss that always just gave his ideas an extra plug in a meeting. Mentorship is in the small things that we do every single day. So when you get back to work next week, if you've got a presentation to give, consider giving part or all of it to someone else. Invite a junior person to a meeting that they wouldn't normally be invited to. With real power at your companies, you have real responsibility to be providing opportunity to the people both around and below you. I challenge you to commit just a few small acts of mentorship a week, and I bet you could probably do one a day if you really put your mind to it. And bonus points to providing mentorship to people that wouldn't normally get access to you. The next thing I'd like to ask you to do, it's going to sound a little counterintuitive and scary given the supply problem that we have, but it's something that I'm both practicing and advocating for very hard back at home. So I'm going to assume that you're all here today because you've hired very well. You've got teams back home taking care of what your team is in charge of. I'm going to assume that you've also hired some really terrific senior people. Let me break it to you. You also probably have a senior person or two that's ready to leave your company. Think about the times in your career when your best next move was to lead your company. I know it was for me. So what happens these days when a senior person is really talented on your team, they want to leave? I know I used to do this. I would bury my head in the sand. I'd ignore that it was happening. Eventually they send their goodbye email. You throw them a party and you say goodbye. But it doesn't have to be that way. I'd like to propose that with a simple mindset shift, we could be helping each other build our benches. We could help each other introduce those great people to their next boss and get their new position. Just last year, I was working with a terrific program manager on a design team, and she really had hit the bounds of what her position could offer. She was far more talented than what the company could offer her. And so instead of kind of ignoring that, I introduced her to her next boss. When she got her offer, I even took her into a room and I helped her negotiate her stock package to make sure it was as good as it should have been. And now that program manager from a year ago is now leading and running a design ops organization at a terrific company. I bet you can each think of someone that you know or somebody in your company that's ready for a new opportunity. Instead of ignoring that, I'd love you to take that person's name, share it with the people around you. Consider it a thank you to that person for all the work that they've done for you, and also consider it something good that you're doing for the industry and for all of us in this room. By helping other people move around more freely, I think that, we can put them in the right positions where they can someday ascend to these more senior positions and they can step up. Managing from a place of fear, which I've done when I've run really big teams before, fear that people are going to leave you, is not true leadership and not serving the greater good of design. And then the last thing I'd just like to ask us all to do is just to do a better job working together. We come to conferences like this, we have great conversations, terrific dinners, we'll all write a lot of articles, we'll tweet. I've built some new relationships this week that are terrific. But let's face it, when we get back to the daily grind of our jobs, our businesses are competing with one another, we hoard talent, we don't expose vulnerabilities to one another. On a day-to-day basis, we don't actually work together. I think bringing the next generation up is something that we really could work together on, and I think it's something that we have to. If we don't collectively own responsibility for putting the next generation in place, I do worry that all this work we've done to get design its seat at the table, it will be all for naught, and we will slide backwards as an industry. I believe that it's going to take us all working harder together to make sure that the next generation of design leaders is even stronger and better than we were and are. And I believe that it's going to take us all working harder together to make sure that the future remains bright for design. Thank you.